here we are again, and since completing the main story, I didn't want to have to make a small segment into the side content, so instead I'm making it a separate video, and that's the route I'm going to take for this one. This will be primarily about the paralogs and supports and the characters in general. Anyways, welcome back, and this is the final part of the Fire Emblem Engage mini-series. This has been a really long series to work on with over 12,000 words in my script, and it was fun making this series. But anyways, we'll get started with the main side content, the paralog. These are set up by progressing the story, and the result is upgrading your emblem or unlocking a unit, such as Jean and Anna. I'll quickly gloss over the paralogs that unlock these two characters, Jean and Anna. Jean's map is the first paralog you are able to do in this game as early as chapter 4. So, Jean and his family are doctors, and the village is being raided by guess who? The Corrupted. The issue that comes into play is the constant wounds inflicted on the villagers, so it's a bit much to keep with. We pull up and take care of them. By this point of the game, you have Marth, Sigurd, and Celica as your main 3 emblems so far. And you can use Sigurd with Louis Lance. He is tanky, so he can buy you time. The enemies are located on the far right of the map, so you don't really interact with them too much until you reach Jean and rescue him. You have to talk to him, so he is a blue unit, and you can control him. You rout the enemy, and that's that. There's not much else to say since it's the easy paralog and it's the first paralog you play, so yeah. And Jean joins your team shortly after. He's a sleeper unit, so you can make him a mage knight, a sage, martial master, whatever the case just so happen to be, anything of that sort. The next paralog isn't unlocked until chapter 6, and you head over to some ruins in Fahrenheit to stop thieves from ransacking the place. Anna is spotted by thieves and is hiding in a chest. I do this map after chapter 7 mainly since I have the Brodia units available to put in my starting lineup, which makes the map a bit easier. It's a couple of armor unit mages and all, but the main takeaway from the map is you can get a master seal in one of the chests. A thief will try stealing it, but the thief will try taking it away from you, and all you really need to do is just track down the thief with the master seal with Sigurd, and it is yours. The boss herself is nothing to write home about. Chain attacking her and spamming your emblem ultimate will do just fine. She's done, and Anna starts off as an axe fighter. Here's a word of advice: do not make her a physical attacker. Just make her a mage, sage, mage knight, healer, whatever the case just so happen to be. It takes a while in the main story for you to actually get something going with Anna, but you can invest into her. And then your next paralog, once it's chapter 12, you unlock the next one, which is Lucina's paralog. Now, by this point, you lost all your emblems, so Lynn is the only emblem you got in chapter 12. So what I mean by this is that once you do an emblem paralog and you select the map, you lose that emblem. I mean, it's obvious enough, but I should have that pointed out. So what I did was waited a bit, so at least chapter 15, got the Psalm units, got Violet. This makes the map a ton easier since we have a limited starting lineup of 7 units. The units are spread out, you can handle them 1 or 2 at a time. Lucina herself has Parthia and Falchion as her weapons, with 3 health bars available. You can spam chain attacks to chip her down, while using a few of her emblem ultimates. Using Violet will help you in killing Lucina, as well as a bit of a Panette crit build, but that's not as necessary as you think it is. You can use a double of Lynn to bait while regrouping to set up for a kill. So now that Lucina's taken care of, we have her maxed out so you can unlock more abilities and emblem weapons. She is usually the first emblem paralog you do and the easiest out of them all, so it's not too bad. Alright, so Lynn's map is a bit tricky since your units are split up into groups of 4. You gotta deal with bone knights, wyverns. Taking out units in front of the tent is the best play, since once he gets into Lynn range, she uses Asher Storm and summons her doubles. I move as far away as I can from her so units trigger don't gang up on me. She's easy to take out since Goddess Dance is busted. Fighting her on enemy phase is risky due to the chain double she has, potential crits, and her rapier weapon shredding cabs and armored unit. We max her out and unlock the weapon Mulagir, which is a busted weapon. Ike's map is meh, since you can easily cheese it by rushing the left side, and there's a ton of enemies as well, such as Great Knights, Sages, mostly cabs in a nutshell. Ike himself is a bulky unit, using Resolve, Wrath, and Ragnall as his weapon to counter ranged units. He's not too hard to kill. I found myself doing most of the paralogs in chapter 18 since a reasonable time to grind. By that point, you get Sigurd back as well, so you can use that to build up Bond the XP. And speaking of Sigurd, I thought Sigurd's map was fun on hard mode. It was nothing too crazy, but the map on Maddening is f***ing dog shit, so you must deal with a lot of sages and archers closing in on you. The best play I did was using Obstruct and Fire Veins to contain the units that way. The fire does gradual damage on enemy phase, so you really can stall out and don't need to worry much about Sigurd since he is on an island where you have to kill a meteor mage to lower the bridge. Eventually, once you do lower the bridge, Sigurd spawns a bunch of units, but he moves by himself, and since he moves far from the other enemy units, they can't keep up, so I bait him with a Lynn clone and lure him so my team can jump him and that takes care of that. Byleth's map, the enemy ignores you for the most part. You can ignore them for some time, just worry about the units near Byleth and you'll be fine. Then at some point Byleth will try to move and destroy the crystals, so you could kill him from that point onwards. It's honestly a really easy paralog, aside from, you know, the flyers spawning in and the dragon beasts, you know, since by the time you do it's like they're fairly new, so there'll be a bit of trouble. And I only noticed this recently, is that the magic beasts both ignore your res and physical defense. I didn't know this until chapter 23 of my maddening playthrough, so yeah, it took some time for me to learn that. Alright, so this is taking some time, so we'll take some time to talk about something else, such as the character support. I think there was solid improvement over the 3 houses ones. Now, don't get me wrong, I like my 3 houses supports, but Engage took a lot of the mistakes 3 houses did to Hearts when it comes to the support. Some supports in that game only had 2 ranks, meaning there was no A rank support or time skip support in that game. For the most part, I generally enjoyed the supports in Engage. Some that stood out to me were Pandreo and Panette, and Saphir and Vander. One showed a more authentic side of Panette, and the other showed, you know, just some goofy little fun, you know, Vander's knitting skills, for example. And speaking of the characters, I'll categorize them based on their region. So let's start with the Faranese unit. For the most part, they are good. I really enjoy everyone in that group except for Boucheron. Yes, I'll hate Boucheron until the end of time, but everyone else is great. Etier, the muscle gym rat, and for me, I love weightlifting. So at some point, I thought she was my favorite girl. Saline is good. I don't really have any crazy positive things to say about Saline, but she is a good character. Her brother Alfred is a comedic relief barbarian who can be one stupid meathead, but will do whatever he can to protect his country, so when it matters most, he will show up. Chloe is a fun character at first. I didn't really like her much, but she grew on me once I started playing Maddening. Louis is a fun character. His voice is one of my favorites because he sounds so nonchalant. Unfortunately, as a unit, he's meh, since he falls off quite a bit. The Lethos units are Alir, Fram, Clan, and Vander. Alir is a fine Avatar character. Aside from the treatment she gets from everyone else, she's a solid character. Not great, but not bad either. I'd much prefer the voice lines given to her than some characters. Vander sucks as a unit, but I really like him as a character. He's one of those units where you can't really appreciate while playing the game because you don't use him on your starting lineup. And unless you look at the supports on YouTube like I did, then you won't really know much about him. So he's a cool character, just a terrible unit overall. Clan, I just don't like him. He sounds like Deku from My Hero Academia. I know they share the same voice actor, but no disrespect to her to be, I just don't like Deku in that specific series. So, Fram, she's an energetic girl. I don't really mind her at all, but she's not crazy good. She's just a decent character. She's serviceable. The brother units are basically, to me, cool character but bad unit, bad character but solid unit, best girl, second best girl, legend, bloodlust girl, and zappy killer girl. Diamant as a character is good, yet on the battlefield he is dog shit. Look, I tried investing into him in the first playthrough, but it turned out terrible. Now, to be fair, I made him a berserker, and so at the time, I did not know berserker was trash at the time, so bear with me on that. But even then, he is still bad on the field. Unlike his brother, Alcris is a solid unit on the field. As a character, I get the whole downplaying himself part is part of his character, but it gets annoying at some point, so it just really turns off my enjoyment of Alcris as a unit. Lapis is a great character. Very wholesome, nice support, cute design, great overall. Amber is, as he describes, a legend. He was one of my MVPs in my first run of the game, so he is exactly what he says to be. Saphir is okay. Not too much to write home about her, but I did like her support with Vander about learning how to knit. Yunaka is a lot of people's best girl, and for good reason. I do like her as a character, but she is not best girl, so argue with a wall. If you noticed or didn't notice, I did not include Jade. In a previous video, she's just not worth talking about. She's dog shit as a unit. Her character is whatever. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's fine, but she's just irrelevant. Jade, I didn't bother mentioning in part 1, so why should I now? I forgot to talk about her so many times or mention her while script writing. I just wanted to bring that up just in case anyone in the comments brings up about Jade. I do not give a about Jade. The Soulmech units can be boiled down to insanely fun crit bot, critter enthusiast, Party Man with Royal Blood, Party Man with Holiness, Rowdy Seeker, Gordon Ramsay, Dancer of Fate. Panette is fun to use with her great axe utility, and it's fun to use her high crit builds with her personal ability, Blood Fury. She has a formal side and a disrespectful side to her. She's also a huge fan of ghosts. So her brother, Pandreo, is a character I didn't like at first because of his over-the-top personality, but he slowly grew on me, becoming one of my favorite characters to use and watch. While he is normally over the top, I got used to it and it really grew on me. So Banjo, you get a pass. Folgado is a fun character, but he is trash on the field. He joins with 12 strength, and that's not gonna do you any good long term, especially in the late game where there are bulky units everywhere. Unlike her sister, Tamara. She's an interesting character with a personal class dubbed as Picket. I think she's a fun character, energetic, cheerful, and mostly a fun character overall. While I did bench her in my first playthrough, I have recently been using her in my maddening playthrough, and she's definitely a team player. I gave her right setup, and she's honestly one of my best units on the team. So yeah, and here's also another good unit. Marin is the critic girl. She has a soft spot for critics, so she is a cool character. Even so on the field, she is serviceable. She has a dagger for poisoning units, so giving her Lucina with dual assist is helpful since not all the time she will be able to do damage because of, again, the bulkiness of the unit. So occasionally she'll do some chain damage, and of course, Seedall is the MVP of any run. He is a dancer, and as I said before, any dancer knows that they'll be on my starting lineup. So yes, Seedall is a great character. Forget about his fortune telling, he can dance any unit. The illusion units are fine. They're my least favorite group if I'm being honest. I'm personally not a huge fan of Rosado or Hortensia, mainly because of their personalities. It's just not for me. Golden Mary is, well, the elegant, perfect woman. To her at least. I can see why people like her for reasons, but she's okay. Ivy has grown on me a lot since my second playthrough of the game. Her supports are interesting with Alear, despite her intimidating personality and appearance at first. He really grew on me. Rosado is, I don't really like him. Terrible unit. Okay as a character, but take him how you will. And the MVP of any run, Kagetsu. He's my GOAT, everyone's GOAT, everyone's MVP, Juggernaut. Fun character, fun unit overall. I'd say, well, not only the best unit in the entire game, but maybe even best character, but that might be pushing it, if I'm being honest. Zelkov is similar to Inaka, but since he joins at a weird time, I honestly didn't use him because Marin pretty much joins shortly after you pick Zelkov up, kinda defeating the purpose of, the thief class if you have a wolf knight. As a character, he's great. His support with Citron about taking care of a bird was one that stood out to me. The rest of the characters in your team are Malvier and Vale, and they're just there. They're fine characters. I don't really feel much attachment to those two. So yeah, they're just there for me, I guess. I do think this is a good character cast. While there are some characters I either don't like or just don't really have much interest in, for the most part, I enjoy the character interaction. However, one of my biggest issues in the story, how the side characters, if you will, is that after the introductory chapter where they are forced to be in your starting lineup, they don't show up in the story ever again. You could say, well, it's about the royal princess and princesses, and come to find out there is a manga of Engaged, thanks to someone telling about it in the comments of one of my previous videos. So I took some time to read through it, and it's a lot better than the main game story. I won't explain much, but you do see the interaction between the characters more often. You see towns with people in it, the interaction between emblems, more details about the story overall, and I haven't gotten too far into it, but it's definitely worth a read. Back to the paralogs. I went ahead and did Corrin's map. While the music is really good, it does take some time to get the map going. It is a tragedy not having fire veins, but it's whatever. You can get Corrin herself to move through Asher Storm, or get deep enough into the map where you trigger her by being into her range. You can't get chain attacked with the ability Pair Up, so she isn't crazy strong as long as you debuff her with Draconic Hex. Fun paralog, awesome music. Leaf's map blows in general. You're dealing with two ballistas that can easily kill you if you're not careful enough, fighting constant reinforcements, and recently I played the map on Maddening, and it was a slog to play through. You have to spam fire veins if you want to survive most map on Maddening, hence making chapter 22 on that difficulty hellish. But eventually the reinforcements stop and Leaf will start moving, either by getting in range of one of his units in his formation, or fighting one of the archers. So in the bottom right corner there is an archer with a ballista, and they don't move, so you don't have to worry about getting in trouble. So you could just send someone down there with Sigurd and you'll be perfectly fine, as long as you're not in range. Leaf can be dangerous with Vantage, and his ability adaptable of changing weapons depending on the unit targeting him, but as long as you debuff him, and yeah, that's easy money on Leaf. Salika's map is a bitch to deal with. In a nutshell, the reinforcements constantly coming in is tedious, especially the ones that spawn flyers, and killing that specific mage early will make the map significantly easier. Salika herself is easy to kill. All you need to do is just get in range of her Warp and Ragnarok, and boom, you're done. Easy map. You just have to stall out for quite a bit of time until you actually fight Salika herself. Erika's map is a difficult one, considering that Erika herself is surrounded by mages who can freeze you and jump your team, so be careful on what you do. Or you can just relax in the spawn area and wait for Erika herself to get to you and kill her off easier that way via obstructs and fire veins and goddess dance. Mikaya's map is the easiest one next to Lucina. By the time you get her back past chapter 19, you will have a solid team, so what you can do is simple. By looking at the map, it looks like a defend map with a tile that you don't let them cross, but all you do is Asher Storm and wait a few turns and boom, she is done. She has no physical defense, so adding a Draconic Hex is salt in the wound for her. You could do it as soon as chapter 20 after you recover Micaiah. Roy's map was kind of fun. I really enjoyed the difficulty on the constant flyers just spawning out of nowhere, having to stay in a certain area. Oh, and the mages that can easily wander around you, how wonderful they are to fight. Okay, jokes aside, this parallel isn't that bad. Sure, the wyverns are annoying, but you can obstruct their hovel when need be. Take them out with archers and the rest of the map is simple. You can contain Roy with firebrains or obstructs, but he does have holdout, so having units chain attacking him with backups is optimal for defeating him quickly in one turn. So yeah, that's Roy's parallel. But here's a parallel that isn't an Emblem parallel. Instead, it's a parallel that you must complete if you want to S-rank a character. It f***ing sucks, I'll tell you that much. Goal is to kill one enemy at first, and you could cheese it by using the AoE obstructs via Micaiah, Goddess Stance, and boom, that's phase 1. Then the reinforcements spawn, and it just takes a crap ton of time. Oh, and one thing before I continue, there's this one ability that prevents you from gaining EXP or SP for that matter. It's called Void Curse. This can be in reinforcements in paralogs such as Flyers in Celica's map, or notably the Wyverns in Marth's paralog. And this transitions over to the last paralog, Marth paralog. Now, before you go ahead and correct me, this is non-DLC, and I don't have the DLC, so I will probably make a separate video on that in the future. But anyways, Marth's map is a slow paralog. Now you initially fight a few axe users, then reinforcements spawn in the beginning, then the sword units spawn in with tomahawks equipped so they're ranged. Spamming fire veins with Corrin is the best bet, then the wyverns start coming in. That Void Curse ability pokes his head again, so it's not like, oh, free EXP. No, that's not how it works. Now look, I get boss farming for EXP and gaining EXP from these reinforcements would break the game, and that's fair, but Intelligence System decided, screw you, you will suffer these reinforcements, and in some cases they are infinite, whether that's the main story or the paralogs. There's also a key element in this map in that the walls are impassable, so wyverns coming through a very strict path, so you can have a single unit, preferably a dodge tank, contain them. And since the main gate where Marth is at is one tile wide, you can exploit this until you confront Marth and take care of him. Now be careful of his Lotus Star Rush and the martial masters that chain guard him. Even so, he is quite easy to take care of. Now that's the side content in a nutshell. There's the DLC, and again, I don't have the DLC, so until then I won't be mentioning it now and probably for a little while. So thanks for sticking all the way through this video, the supercut, whatever you're watching for. And yeah, Engage, it's a really fun game. You know, I had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a game I'd replay every now and again. But again, thanks for watching all the way through this series, and as always, enjoy yourself. Thanks for watching and have a good one.